for Business program presented by Mike Gershbein of Very Smart People. Before we start, just a few notes. We have the Q&A open at the bottom of your screen, and you should be able to type in any questions you have for the presenter down there. We also have the chat function open if you have any technical difficulties, and we have Mike from IT on to help with that. At this point, the library is open to check out items, and we anticipate opening up our computers to members on July 27th. Please keep an eye on our website for updates on that and for future programs. And now I'll turn it over to Mike.
Okay, thanks for coming. My name is Mike Gershbein, and I have a technology training company called Very Smart People, and I teach typically at places, these days online, throughout the Chicagoland area, libraries, senior centers, all of those types of things. Do some small business consulting, and today we are talking about small businesses, technology, the intersection, and a couple technical details. First of all, as Faye mentioned, I've got the Q&A up in front of me, and I've got the chat functionality up in front of me. So certainly feel free to type in a question in there. You're going to be muted, so I can't hear from you. So don't yell at me because it won't make a difference. So go ahead and just type into either Q&A or chat, and I'll keep an eye on it. I keep looking over here. It's not a nervous habit or anything. I have slides over here and I have Q&A over here, but you'll be staring at my desktop anyway, so wouldn't worry about it. And believe it or not, there have been a couple times where I have been kicked off for whatever reason. Do not panic if that happens. I'll do the panicking, and I will rush to get back online and start where I left off, and it will be like you didn't miss a thing. So this is actually a good time to, if you haven't been thinking about it already, to be thinking about how you're using social media with your small business, considering your small business may only be online or maybe limited to its online functionality, or it's maybe the main way you're communicating with customers right now. You know, I'm seeing restaurants are the perfect example of it, where restaurants I mean, it's not good for restaurants right now, but restaurants are still trying to adapt, and some of them are probably adapting somewhat well and communicating things to their public, doing business online, all these types of things. You know, the library, I'm sure, is doing this stuff. So if you haven't been at least thinking about your social media presences, this is certainly a good pandemic is a good reason to start. People aren't walking in your door. So that's, you know, one potential good thing that we can think about as far as social media right now. But I mean, it's something that hopefully you've been thinking about for some time. You're not just here because of pandemic panic. I'm going to go ahead and start a slideshow, and we'll walk through this stuff. This is intro to social media for small businesses. So sorry, I'm vamping a little bit while I figure out how to share my screen. You know, I'm going to look at this at a kind of a high level of the things that you need to be considering as you are opening up your small business. Let me do one more thing. Sorry, one more setting, and I will move on. Sorry, just give me 1 second. No, it's supposed to be there. Okay, I'm gonna grab one thing and then we'll get started. This is the new computer, so I'm still getting a couple tweaks out of my settings here. Here we go. Look at that. All right. You don't know what I did, but it was pretty good. So I'm still here. Sorry. Just trying to get my slide to advance. Okay, I gotta do it that way. All right, sorry about all that. This, like I said, this is a 2-day-old computer, and I'm still getting some tweaks out of it. So why do you want to go social with your business? There are some pretty good reasons to do it. First of all, yes, the world's there. There's 2.5 billion people on Facebook worldwide, so everybody's on social media, and all ages are on social media. All socioeconomic groups are on social media. Everybody is there. If you're trying to reach people, that's where people are. Now, one other thing to consider as far as kind of like social media and other places is you now have an opportunity to have multiple websites out there, essentially. If you think about it as kind of a website for you. So kind of, it used to be you would set up a business and you'd go and you'd build a website for it. And if you're lucky, somebody's searching, you create a Mexican restaurant, you start a Mexican restaurant, somebody goes out and searches Mexican restaurants in your area, and your website rises to the top of the Google results. It may happen. Actually, what you'll find is it's really competitive, so that likely may not happen. A bunch of Mexican restaurants will rise to the top of the media results. But you've got other places for people to find you, other essentially websites where people can find you, either on social media or things like Yelp, things like that. All these places that can potentially rise to the top of Google results. And if you're interested in what they call SEO, or search engine optimization, which is how you get your website to rise to the top of Google results, a lot of that has to do with how many places are pointing to it. So the more kind of stuff that you're doing and the fresher you're keeping it, chances are your actual website can rise to the top of Google results. And if it doesn't, if your Facebook page rises to the top of Google results, or if people are on Facebook and they're trying to find something and they're not searching Google for it, they're searching on Facebook, that's another presence for you. That's another place for you. Pushing versus pulling, that's kind of related to this Google thing too, where if somebody's looking for a place to get their shoes repaired, then maybe they want to go onto Google and search for shoe repair places. But maybe there are people out there who aren't really thinking about their shoes, and they're just getting on with their life. But if you've got a chance to kind of push a message in front of them, that may trigger some thoughts in their head. Oh, maybe I should get around to doing this or doing that, getting my shoes repaired, getting my car repaired. Oh, there's a coupon, all this type of stuff. You're seeing this a lot in things like athletes and the NBA, the NFL, where an athlete will have a website where you can go and buy their merchandise, but they'll also have social media presences where they're kind of pushing all this other stuff in front of you or in front of their fans is a more active thing, kind of keeping them in your spotlight all the time, so you're thinking about them. And that also leads to my next point, which is this kind of intimacy and authenticity, where it's no longer just like a barrier between you and a business. Even the biggest businesses right now are going for this kind of authenticity, where Coca-Cola, if you visit their social media, they're putting all kinds of fun, colorful stuff out there, and you're getting to know all the emotions that Coca-Cola is trying to get across to you. Whereas before, it just kind of used to be a faceless business. And interaction is also built in as well, where you can ask questions to Coke or to your local restaurant, or what are your hours, things like that. Do you have this in your menu? And this gives you a vehicle to do that type of thing. And finally, this virality, which is the secret sauce, and is really, really difficult, but you're putting stuff up for people who follow your business, but maybe you put up something so brilliant that one of these followers shares it with their friends, and then their friends share it. And all of a sudden you've got the most popular, you're the most popular accountant in Illinois because people have been sharing this brilliant cat video that you put out. That's hard to get, it's hard to do. But the idea being that you've got all these allies who are following your business, and they're out there kind of sharing what you do so that other people can see it as well. They're your friends and they're going to be sharing the things that you do. Now, it's important to consider the fact that you may have multiple goals for social media. You may have some of these goals. You may have some combination of these goals. You don't have to have them all, but these are things you want to think about as far as why you're doing social media for your business. Because you know what? Social media is going to take up time. It's going to take up effort, energy. You can spend a lot of time doing social media. Here's the thing: if you like marketing, and if you like socializing with people, networking, then there's no reason why you shouldn't love using social media for these same goals. If you're not into those things, social media is not going to be a panacea for that. Social media is going to be more time spent networking that you don't enjoy, more more time doing these other networking that you may not enjoy in person, except it's doing it on a computer. But so something to consider about is what goals you're trying to achieve. Now, this first one may seem obvious, but it's not necessarily. Maybe you've got a well-established business, but if you've got a new business, you're looking to get new customers, right? You're looking to get people who will buy your products. That's an obvious thing. But also, you've got a pandemic going on, and you want people to know that you're still there. Maybe you need help. I don't know if any of you heard about this from Manny's Delicatessen in the city. Used to go there with my dad when I was a kid all the time. And they were just on social media, on Twitter, saying, we are really suffering right now. And people were out there sharing their message and going, and apparently they've had lines down the block since they put out these messages that they're really suffering. So they're saying to their current customers, hey, look, you guys need to come come get a pastrami from us because we're really suffering here. Maybe they got some new customers to this as well, but they were really going for these people who have some emotional connection with that can come in and help rescue them. Offer incentives, you've got coupons. And the nice thing about offering incentives through some of the social media is some of it you can just put out there for anyone. Other ones you can put out there for people who are in your area. So if you have a lunch crowd, maybe not so much these days because people aren't moving around, but when things get back to normal, people who are in your area between 11 and 2, you put out coupons for them to attract them. If you want to sell goods through something like Facebook, other places are starting to do it as well. Instagram is inching into it. Pinterest, if you have a boutique, sweaters and things like that, Pinterest is a great place to sell goods. You can bring that catalog of stuff over and people can connect directly to it to buy stuff. It's an organization connector. So you've got these allies. I'm a member, I live in Skokie. I'm a member of the Skokie Chamber of Commerce and the Niles Chamber of Commerce. And the Niles Chamber of Commerce is so good at, they're always online pushing their businesses, saying these are new businesses or focusing on this week's business and marketing them to other Niles Chamber of Commerce businesses and people who live in Niles. So these are your allies who are out there potentially helping you with your business. Maybe you still do a lot through your website. Maybe you still do most of your business through your website. It's fine. And you want to get more people to your website from social media, great. You are pushing links to your website, links to your products on your website. That's a fine option too. Something else that people don't really consider all the time is you want to stay up on trends in your business. You want to know what's going on. What do you do these days? Are there still magazines related to what you do? Social media is where all the kind of smart people are. It's where the discussions are. It's where the publications are. So it's where groups are, groups of people who are going to be talking about stuff. So good place to get in there and learn about trends that people are doing and learn about how people are using social media even because you're on social media. And yes, is it now 2020? More than halfway through 2020. We're in the 21st century. Everybody's on social media. It's probably time for you. So, you're looking for potentially a combination of these as goals for what you're doing. Let's see how I can advance my slides. Sorry about that. Okay. So when you're coming up with your social media plan, you do have a number of things that you want to consider. Maybe you are not crazy about social media and you really don't want to be bothered by this, but you've got a young whippersnapper millennial assistant who's on Instagram all the time, and they were great for keeping social media. They eat social media and breathe social media. Maybe they should be handling most of your social media and you can give it to them. Or maybe it's something that you like to do in your spare time. Either way, somebody has to do this stuff. You need to publish stuff. As far as what stuff you're publishing, that's going to be determined by you. What type of content will you be publishing? There's different platforms based on the types of content. Are you going to be doing fun photos? Are you doing product photos, unboxing? Are you going to be doing longer kind of discussions or links to articles and magazines? These things are going to kind of help determine the places that you publish to, which is the next point here, which is you've got a bunch of options for social media. They're pretty much settled. Maybe TikTok's not settled now. Maybe you're on TikTok right now and you're trying to figure out how to use TikTok. In a month, it will be banned in the US. So all that time was wasted. But anyway, there's a set number of places where you can publish to. You probably don't want to publish to them all. You probably want to pick at least one, two, or three, and the ones that match your business well, match your goals well, and are the ones that will pay off for you to do it. You don't want to do them all, most likely. It's too much work. What are your ultimate goals? We kind of set out those ultimate goals in that previous slide. And then when do you publish? And I've got some hints for you later about doing this. And honestly, I often get the question about best time to publish to Facebook, things like that. There's not a set answer for that. There are websites that will say in general, these are the best times to publish to these various social networks. Best time to publish to your social networks are going to be when people are looking at your social network, and most of the social networks do give you stats for that. So it's something to pay attention to. So where do you want to be? These are the main social networks that are out there for you to consider. Facebook, Instagram, which is owned by Facebook, so they're a killer combination. Pinterest, LinkedIn, Twitter, Snapchat, which I will blow by, but if you're looking to get into marketing to basically Generation Z, my son, and you can figure out Snapchat, that's an option for you. YouTube, I'm not going to talk about a whole lot, but I will tell you that if you like doing videos, if you've considered doing videos, there are some really good reasons to use YouTube. Number one, it's a Google product. So the fact that you publish through a Google platform means that your web presence is lifted because Google likes it when you publish to their platforms, and these things are linking to each other. Also, there are a lot of reasons to do YouTube. You could do, if you're selling a product, you could link to those products, do little, tips from the product to YouTube video, and you can actually put in ads in your YouTube video. People can click on things and you can make money. You can just do it as a free option. I have a client who she publishes children's books, and she has a children's book where she sits there and reads it. And it's a YouTube video of basically the pages going by as she reads it, as an enticement for somebody to actually buy the book. So she's just, it's not necessarily an advertisement. I guess it is an advertisement, and that'll bring you to the website. Now, the final thing about YouTube is these days, your production studio is right in your hand, right here. I've got another client. I would say, I hate to do this, but I would say she's in her, let's say she's around 60, okay? So she's not my son's age, she's not my age. But she has a hair salon, and every once in a while, she'll just have a new product, or her last thing was she does a lot of wigs for cancer patients. And she did this video where she was showing the different wigs and the materials they make, and somebody used their phone, followed her around, put it on YouTube, linked to it from a bunch of different social media sites and her website. She's got a great camera presence. She loves standing up there, and she can just talk and talk and talk. So, quick and easy way to get this up there and get people see it. And of course, it'll be found on Google as well. So YouTube, I don't talk about it much, but it certainly is an excellent option for you. Also, you should check on Yelp. If your business is listed on Yelp and you don't own it on the platform, you haven't claimed it on the platform of Yelp, you should do so. If it's not on Yelp, you should create a Yelp page for it. Yelp is free. They'll try to sell you stuff. They'll try to sell you to be lifted in their results, but it's a free platform. And if people are looking for local recommendations on whatever, Yelp is where they're going. Also, it helps with your search engine optimization for your website because it's another place pointing to it. Google My Business is another excellent one. If you Google a business name or you Google businesses in a town, you'll see the results on the right will list specific businesses. If you do it on a phone, the results come right to the top of your phone. That's the Google My Business page, and you should go in there and claim that page as well. And your business may be out there already. If it's not, you can create a Google My Business page for people to find that right away. Now, I'll tell you, I was at a client. They have a boutique in, I think it was Arlington Heights, and this is literally what happened. Where I actually went there to help them with their Instagram, but we were talking about Yelp, and their Yelp page was out there, but they hadn't claimed it. So it was out there, but nobody actually owned that Yelp page. And I was helping her set up her Yelp page, and somebody walked in the door and said that they weren't sure she was open because her hours weren't listed on Yelp. because we hadn't gotten that far yet. Literally, I was showing my value to that person who owned that business right there because she hadn't claimed her Yelp page. And then Nextdoor, which is the hyper-local website for sharing businesses. My last I needed a locksmith, and I went on Nextdoor, and there were a bunch of people on Nextdoor who had recommended local locksmiths, and I went with one of their recommendations. So if you've got a local business that serves certain places, you don't necessarily, you need to be careful about how you push yourself in Nextdoor, and also where you're very limited where you can push yourself. But if you have people who recommend your business through Nextdoor, that's a great way to get business as well. And that is a social network. It's a local version of Facebook, essentially. So where does your audience live online? If you've got a bunch of millennials who are on Instagram is something you might want to pursue using. If you've got a Facebook audience, that one you might want to be using. What kind of stuff do you want to publish? If you're publishing more images, maybe you're going with something like Instagram or Pinterest. If you're publishing longer articles, maybe you want to go with something like LinkedIn. Or if you're looking for business to business, you want to go with something like LinkedIn potentially. Where do you live online? Do you love using Instagram? If you do, it's really easy for you to switch your accounts from your personal account to your Instagram account and publish from one to the other. So why not take advantage of it? Most of these make it easy for you to publish. Twitter is my kind of example for the last two. Where Twitter, it's really easy to publish. You can be in the bathroom at 2 a.m. and put out tweets about your opinions about COVID. I hate to say it, or whatever. Put your tweets about your opinion of whatever. Whether it gives you the most value for that, it's a related question. This is year-old, but still interesting. Social media brand used most often. So which one do people use most often? You can kind of see Facebook is shrinking a little bit, or has shrunk a little bit from when it was the #1 social network of most people. And a lot of that shift has gone to Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. So in 2015, Facebook and Instagram had 72%. And 2019, Facebook and Instagram still have 68%. It's down a little bit, and a lot of that, especially the younger people, have gone to Snapchat, which is the next one. Pinterest has been sitting there for years with 5% of the people. Pinterest is kind of a great unsung resource because it's so much fun to capture for certain people. Twitter has kind of stayed steady for a number of years, and it was interesting because after Trump got elected, there was so much buzz about Twitter, and it actually kind of started declining a little bit, although it may have picked up since then. But Twitter is certainly out there as an option for you as well. As far as demographics go, so Facebook has about 2.5 billion people online. Every demographic is using Facebook, okay? 37% of 65 and up are using Facebook. That's a pretty good number if you're looking for that demographic. Ages 50 to 64, 65% of ages 50 to 64 are using Facebook. If anything, those are people who are more active on Facebook than teenagers are. I mean, number-wise, teenagers still have a lot of Facebook accounts, and millennials are still there. As far as how it's growing, 65 and up and 50 to 64, they're seeing the greatest increases in Facebook. So Facebook is still used pretty heavily. People visit it consistently. People visit it once a day. They spend 30, 40 minutes on it. It's just skimming through their timeline. Instagram, about half as many US users, probably the hottest social network. Oh, maybe TikTok's the hottest, I don't know. But Instagram, since we don't know if TikTok will still be around, Instagram is the hottest social network. That tends to be more focused on millennials and Generation Z, and it also gets pretty heavy daily usage. People are checking all the time. LinkedIn, pretty strong, 160 million people. It tends to be, executives, more educated people. They tend to use it not as much daily usage. They'll check it on weekends or check it occasionally to look for jobs, things like that. But if you're looking for that kind of that type of person, then that's where you're potentially looking. Pinterest has the interesting stat of being heavily female demographic and a slightly older demographic. So it tends to have this kind of audience of crafters, essentially, and other things. But if you're looking for that type of audience, once again, I think I don't know if I said 80% female is the number I've seen, then they're out there. Snapchat, 210 million in the US. It's when you see kids staring at their phone, this is all I see at my house. I have a 17-year-old. I see him staring at his phone nonstop, and it tends to be either Instagram or Snapchat. It's difficult to use as a business. My favorite example of Snapchat is Arnold Schwarzenegger's out there pushing physical fitness through Snapchat. You know, he wants to reach teenagers. That's a way to do it. Twitter, a mere 33 million in the US, heavily used by the millennials. It tends to have a very passionate, active user base. So as I say down at the bottom, 10% of the users create 80% of the tweets. So they are very enthusiastic about issues, which as a business, I guess it can be a good or a bad thing. And I think Twitter is probably the trickiest one to use efficiently. And then YouTube. YouTube is the media consumption choice of millennials. This is how they get their videos. So if you're looking to reach Generation Z and millennials, it's not a bad option for you. They haven't updated the stat, but 5 billion videos watched per day. It's probably even more than that. That's a lot of videos. Yeah, there we go. Okay. One thing I do encourage people to do, no matter what, after you walk away from this class, is to set up a Facebook page. Now, a Facebook page, this is a business page, and you do need to have a Facebook account. So if you don't like Facebook, you don't want a Facebook account, a personal account, then you're out of luck as far as setting up a Facebook page. The good news is you can set up a personal Facebook page, a personal Facebook account, and have your own personal page out there and lock down most of it as far as privacy. So you can have it pretty private and you don't have to publish a whole lot to it, but you do need to have that in order to create a Facebook page for your business. These pages are indexed by Google. Anyone can get to them. They don't need to be a member of Facebook in order to see your page. And they're great for all kinds of stuff, videos, pictures, longer blog posts, curated content. When I talk about curated content, basically the stuff you're finding other places. As you're sitting there listening to me talking about all this stuff, you may think, oh my gosh, where am I going to come up with all this great stuff for my users? You know, how am I going to do it? You're on Facebook, you're following businesses. They're doing nothing but putting out content that then you can share to your followers. So I have a client who's got an insurance company. He's a broker. So he brokers for all these different insurance businesses, and they'll put up something about hail damage. You know, it's the season for hail damage and blah, blah, blah. And he'll go ahead and share their stuff. So there are all these kind of resources that for you to share fairly easy on your Facebook page. Now, stories is the next thing that I mentioned, and these are getting more and more popular. These were created on Snapchat, but and they're big on Snapchat, but Instagram and Facebook have also used them. And these are kind of short collections of short videos, typically, and they can go in theory up to a minute, but they're typically something like 10 seconds long, and images, and they'll have fun captions on them or funny faces on them, things like that. And they only last 24 hours. So the idea being that your Facebook page is more for stuff that you want to keep for a long time, whereas these stories are kind of a little bit quirkier, a little more fun. I go skiing, or pre-pandemic, I would go skiing, and I follow a lot of ski resorts on both Instagram and pages, and they'll put up these little stories of just some guy skiing down a mountain, and it'll have some text, gnarly killing it on this run, something like that, and that text will be gone in 24 hours. It's just kind of like a quick hit of more kind of a fun emotional connection. The nice thing about stories on both Facebook and Instagram is that they appear at the top. So when people are on their Facebook page or their Instagram and they're scrolling through stuff, your stuff may or may not appear based on the algorithm, but at the top, the stories are sitting right there for somebody to click on. They're getting pretty popular. If you haven't looked at them on Instagram or looked at them on Facebook, you should do so. Now, Facebook also has 3 really useful things: events, messaging, and groups. Events are kind of official calendar events that you can put into, let's say you're having some product, you've got a new product that you're going to be rolling out. You can say on August 2nd, we're going to be having this product roll out at 2 o'clock. and people can sign up for this event. They can say, I'm going, and then all their friends are going to see they're going, or they can share this event because they know that a bunch of their friends might want to go to your event. People will sign up for it. You'll get some sense of how many people are interested in it. And, you know, it's a kind of, and then they'll get reminders when it's showing up. So it's kind of an official calendaring thing. Messaging on your page, when people go to your page, there'll be a pop-up on the bottom right-hand corner, and they can send you messages as your business owner. And you'll, on your phone, it'll pop up either using, there's a separate app for Facebook pages that you have to download, or using Facebook Messenger, which is the messaging system that's built into Facebook. So another good way to kind of communicate with people. And finally, Facebook has groups. If you are either looking to advertise your businesses, you know, there may be a local group of people that you can advertise your business to. You don't, once again, want to be obnoxious and join these groups. You do need to be approved to join these groups. You don't want to join these groups and only put out ads. But that being said, you could do it occasionally or respond to people when they're looking for things. Or there may be groups that are people with a similar field to you. You know, people, social media managers in Chicagoland, things like that. And you can go in there, ask questions, answer questions, and promote your business that way. We'll have stuff like contact info and addresses, links to your website, reviews, visitor posts, and you can have multiple roles, meaning if you set up a Facebook page for your business, but you're really not thrilled about doing it, or you don't have the time to deal with it, you can have some other Facebook member who works for you or who's related to you and is willing to deal with it, work as your Facebook, you know, basically manager, and go in and put in content for you and update it. So definitely Facebook pages, based on the sheer number of people, is a good option for you to set up no matter what. Now, Instagram tends to be known more for high quality photos, and they'll have short videos, once again, up to 60 seconds. And also the stories I was talking about before. For the most part, you're going to be doing this from your phone because it's so photo based. You'll be taking a picture or pulling a picture or a video from your phone. Now, the nice thing about Instagram is it's linked, because it's a Facebook product, it's linked fairly well to Facebook. So you can go and say, hey, I want this to go on my Facebook page and my Instagram page. But people love, this is, you know, really the hottest. This is Facebook getting rid of all the political arguments and things like that. It's really just fun videos, fun photos. So and you see a lot of places using Instagram that you wouldn't necessarily think, because they're so visual, like the Museum of Art, the Art Institute. They are constantly putting up photos of their artworks, or the lions in front wearing a mask, things like that. You know, because they're such a visual organization. There's some ideas behind the scenes, unboxing, product features, lifestyle, inspirational quotes. If you're looking for content on Instagram, you could always do a nice picture of a cat. You could always do a inspirational quote in between. You know, it doesn't have to be heavy duty content, in between the stuff that you really want to be out there for people to see. It tends to be big for millennials, but honestly, all ages are getting on Instagram because it tends to be fun. And then hashtags are big on Instagram. As far as who uses hashtags, pretty much Instagram, Twitter, and I guess LinkedIn. Hashtags being these number signs, little number symbols with words after them that basically tend to define what you're showing people. So you can have, it's a way of kind of indexing the internet, or indexing Instagram. So you could have a sweater, and you could have, you know, hashtag wool sweaters, hashtag winter is coming, hashtag the name of the brand of the sweater. And actually Instagram, people who use Instagram encourage you to use multiple hashtags, 9 or 10 hashtags. And then people can follow these hashtags, and they follow winter is coming, they'll get the stuff fed up to theirs. So hashtags, people use them pretty heavily on Instagram as well. Pinterest is also pictures and video. It tends to have these, traditionally Instagram has kind of been square, although it's not officially like that, but square-ish images, whereas Pinterest tends to be, it's all sizes, but they tend to be longer. So it's good for something like an infographic where it gives you a bunch of points, or step-by-step guides. Recipes are really big on Pinterest. Product features, links to catalog items, just fun images. the people who tend to use it, hobbyists, crafters, cooks, collectors. It's good for showing off collections of things. It is really big with recipes, but also people looking for sewing ideas, things like that. So because these are kind of traditionally seen as, female hobbies or roles, it does have a high percentage of women, but a lot more men are joining, and probably keep going. It's a lot of fun for men and women. All ages are using it. And one nice thing that Pinterest does very well, especially compared to Instagram, is that everything that you put up on Instagram links back to your website if you wanted to. So somebody will see this sweater that you've got up there, and they can click on it and go to your website. And that has been something that hasn't really been integrated into Instagram. So if you're using it to sell a catalog of stuff, or if you've got a blog, you're putting up information, you can put a picture from the blog and have that link back to your blog. LinkedIn, a lot of people think of LinkedIn as being something to get you a job, but it really is just an overall professional social network. And if you're looking to connect with either people who are going to help you get a job, or people who have career ideas, or colleagues, people who have interest in promoting you, or vice versa, thought leaders, the people with the big ideas in your field, it's the best place for business to business. You want to sell your toilet paper to buildings. It's a good way to connect with them. So really is a good option for those types of things. You can have a business page on LinkedIn, meaning you've got a personal page for your resume, but your business also has its own stuff where it says how many people are employed there, and official business posts. You guys have a new product up, or you're appearing somewhere. If you're an individual who's doing consulting or something like that, it's up to you as to whether you'd want to do both a personal and a business page. I went ahead and created a business page for my business, even though it's just me. But that is an option for you. Like the Facebook ones are free, and it's another place where people can find your business on the internet. You can get personal recommendations for the work that you've done and accumulate them there. They've also got groups, and these are really good groups for networking. They're on all kinds of different topics. So once again, you're Chicagoland accountant. You can join the Chicagoland accounting group, and people will ask questions about accounting. I'm not an accountant, but whatever accountants ask questions about, accounting techniques. And you can go in there and ask your question or answer questions. And you're being seen visible with all these colleagues there, and you're potentially networking with these other colleagues online. Or maybe you do a specific type of accounting and you join a national accounting group on LinkedIn. So really good way to connect with other professionals. Or if you have longer content that you want to publish, as big ideas. I've done this handful of times where I've wanted to write kind of longer articles, and so I've 5 or 6 paragraph ones. It's a blogging platform. I was able to push it out. You can make these things public, so link to them from Facebook, and people can find them. And it's the best place for you to do kind of these longer professional posts. And I've noticed a lot of activity with this posting now, actually, in kind of these COVID days where people are kind of looking for, there's a lot of kind of lifting up other people, recommending other people happening on LinkedIn. And that seems to be big right now, just kind of raising other people as well as yourself. Twitter, I think, is the hardest one to figure out how to use in certain ways. Namely, I think it's hard to use to sell stuff, to sell your business. It's kind of chaotic right now. It's a little bit of a mess. I used to use it personally. Now I pretty much just use it as a business. Too many culture wars and things like that going on as an individual, because like I said, there's a lot of very passionate people on Twitter right now. That being said, it is a really good way to get information if you follow. So it's hard to get into meaningful discussions on Twitter, which is one of the main drawbacks of it. But if you're looking for information, you can follow publications on Twitter. You can follow experts on Twitter. There's one guy that I really like who I follow for COVID stats, coronavirus stats, and I look at his Twitter feed all the time. Also, I'll find a lot of stuff from technology magazines, technology journalists, things like that, about social media, the types of things that I cover in classes like this. So that's where I'm pulling in a lot of this information. There aren't a whole lot of magazines left. Maybe there are some blogs, but Twitter, people are publishing this stuff and potentially publishing them as links to longer places. So also a place to look for content for the stuff that I put into my Twitter or my Facebook page. These are all things being put into Twitter. So people think of it as basically 280 words, which is officially the limit. But the reality is that a lot of people using Twitter effectively are putting in links to longer content. They're putting in images, they're putting in GIFs, even short little videos. So you've got ways to, you can include that type of stuff on Twitter. So it's not just a little bunch of text blurbs. It's easy to get a whole bunch of Twitter followers. It's easy to post stuff. People get so much stuff on Twitter that it is potentially a little difficult to get their attention. As I say, there's a lot of nerds and activists on it. Good way to follow your competition. And when I say, these two are kind of hand in hand, following competition and monitoring trends. So if you are, I'm trying to think of examples beyond accountants. If you have a garage, an auto repair shop in Chicago, then maybe you've actually got competition in the area. But maybe you'll also hear about these auto repair shops in California and New York are doing great in Twitter and bringing in social media, and you can follow them on Twitter. And they're not really your competition; they're in the same field as you. So if anything, they're allies because you're not going to be competing for the same people. So you can follow them, monitor trends, monitor organizations. It's a good way to kind of, I blew past this point. Excellent organization connector, see what things the local chamber of commerce is doing, see what things your national organization is doing. One nice thing you can do on Twitter is tag people in organizations. So if you have something really important and you think that and you want other people to kind of share that information, you've got a new service that you think is really unique, you can tag the Chicagoland chapter of whatever your organization is and say, hey, can you spread the word? And maybe they'll retweet it to their followers as well. So that's another kind of nice thing about Twitter is this kind of tagging organizations and people who will work with you to spread what you're talking about. Snapchat, if you're looking to get to Generation Z, it's still fairly early. It's hard to use, but it's something worth considering. Let's leave it at that. And I'm just looking at the chat room. You can always throw up questions about Snapchat if you really want me to talk about it. So what are you going to do? By the way, I just kind of said that as a side thing. I kind of breezed through all those. We're 45 minutes in, so certainly do feel free to type in a question into Q&A or into chat, and I am monitoring them here in case you miss any of this. Oh, by the way, I forgot to do this earlier, but since I'm talking about it now, before I forget, I'm going to put in my email into the chat room. If you want a copy of this presentation, you can have it. If you want to relive this, the library is recording it, and then we'll have it available, I believe, on their YouTube channel. They can tell you at the end. Okay, oops. Yeah, I guess I meant to do that. So when you are going into Facebook and LinkedIn, you do need to set up a business page, and you need to have a personal account to set that up. Instagram and Pinterest, they both offer the option. You could do your business through a personal account. So if you had a personal account on Instagram and Pinterest, you could just use it for business stuff. They also have you could also set this up as a kind of a business version of a personal account, which is use your personal account, set up an account for your business, or you could set up an official business account, in which case you say that you're a business, and then they'll do things like give you additional statistics and give you a link to your website. So what happened is Instagram in particular, people would be advertising their business through their personal account, and Pinterest kind of wanted people to say, hey, I'm an official business. And so you can set it up that way. And I think people have moved for the most part to the official business accounts for their business. Easy to switch between the accounts, particularly in Instagram. It's literally just a button you press in the app in your personal or your business. And Twitter and Snapchat, there's no kind of official business account. You're either using a personal account or a business account or both. You do want to find some followers. First thing you want to do is go out there and find or follow or like, depending on which thing you're using, or connect with, I guess in some cases, like people and businesses. Hopefully, or I shouldn't say like, follow or like people in businesses. So find people in businesses that are, interested in things you're doing, organizations that are interested in the things you're doing, and follow them, like them, and hopefully they'll follow or like you back, and you'll get the stuff that they'll get the stuff that you're putting out there. Now, you can also do this in most of these social, well, especially, I shouldn't say most, in something like Facebook, when you start a business page, it will say, do you want to send out a request for all your friends to follow you? So, that's kind of one of the first things you do when you do a Facebook page is you'll say, hey, I would like all my friends to be notified that this is up. And then all your personal friends get notified. Maybe some of them end up following you. Maybe some of them end up actually bringing you business, but still it's nice that you get that good early following of people who like you. And then potentially the ones who do kind of really like you and like your business are sharing your stuff or are liking your stuff, which is bringing on more people potentially. You can go out there, and these are the people I'm kind of talking about, these colleagues and allies and influencers. So you're going out there and finding people in who have a stake in what you're doing potentially, or you have a stake in what you're doing, and you can help each other, and you're liking each other's stuff and you're sharing each other's stuff. So this could be local chamber of commerce. These could be similar businesses, parallel businesses. I have one friend who's a colleague who he actually, the business doesn't exist anymore, but when it existed, he was doing STEAM education, science, technology, that type of stuff for kids. And my thing is technology, mostly for, I guess, for their parents and grandparents. So we would each share each other's stuff on Twitter, tag each other, share each other's stuff on Facebook, that kind of stuff. He was an ally of mine, and we could scratch each other's backs. Instagram, go in and like each other's stuff, things like that. But that's that's the trick, is you want to go out there. Or I've got this author who, she just published a book on Saint Ambrose. And so we went out there and we found all the different Facebook pages related to St. Ambrose churches, St. Ambrose schools. He's a saint that, apparently a number of schools and churches have named themselves after. So she was out there liking them, and some of them ended up liking her back, and potentially she got some sales from that. Most of these services will pop up, hey, do you want to be friends with this person? Do you want to follow this person? Things like that. So you could use that. Or once again, use the find your own personal friends and add them. Now, this is key. You do want to interact with people. You don't want to just kind of, first of all, you don't want to just publish stuff and have, when somebody says something or underneath it, somebody makes a comment on it, you don't want to ignore that. You want to respond to just anything. But you can go out and respond as your business to other people's stuff. So as your business, you could go onto Facebook, other Facebook pages, and when they publish stuff, you can publish a comment underneath, and you can like their stuff, just like you do it as a personal Facebook page, or you interact on Twitter as a business as well. So you're putting your business out there public, and your business is people are able to see your business and know that you exist. So that can be really useful for kind of just increasing your visibility. At some point, you will want to publish. You don't want to just sit there. Now, potentially it's useful to have a Facebook page no matter what, even if you don't publish stuff, just so your presence is there, because it is another website. But if you really want to take advantage of social media and getting your message in front of people, you do want to publish stuff. You want to find quality content to publish. What is the definition of quality content? It doesn't have to be, New Yorker level content or The Economist. Quality content is what fits your business and on the platform that you're using. So if the quality content on Instagram for the mood you're trying to get across is cat videos and cute, cuddly images, because you putting up there, people are going to like it, and it enforces a brand. I mean, I don't think that's all I would do unless I was a cat shelter. I guess I would be putting up a lot of cat photos, but you do what fits you. Or maybe you want to do kind of longer discussions of issues, and something like LinkedIn is the place where you can do that stuff. But the point is, quality is what fits your business. And as for finding quality content, yeah, you are going to come up with a decent amount of it on your own, but also there's a world of content out there for you to steal and borrow and share from other places. So, I mean, all these social networks, besides you coming up with content, they're just faucets full of content flowing out to you. This is an idea of types of things that you can use, 50 kind of ideas for things that you can do in order to kind of come up with a content idea for a specific period, for if you're looking for something to publish. So, you know, if it's a holiday, you could publish something related to the holiday, something in the news, although you want to be careful with whatever's in the news. You don't want to do anything too controversial, potentially. Inspirational quotes, mention somebody, mention an influencer, mention a follower, thank people, take a poll. All these are nice kind of quick images. If you want a copy of this, once again, I'm happy to send you the slideshow. You'll want to publish regularly. Now, the recommended numbers of times to publish regularly are going to differ for the services. Earlier, I had mentioned that kind of when it comes to time, there's a variety of recommendations out there, but really the best way to see it is depending on how your users use it. But that being said, you know, generally something like LinkedIn, in an ideal world, you're going to be publishing it to a couple times a day. Instagram, you're going to be publishing to it once or twice a day. Twitter, you're going to be publishing to it a bunch of times a day because it's easy to get stuff lost. Now, one thing to keep in mind is when you're publishing, you should feel free to repeat your posts. So, because there's no guarantee that anybody actually saw your post. You can see the stats, but because the way the algorithms work, your stuff may have been passed by. So you put something out on Facebook, you can republish it. And you put something out on Monday, you can republish it on Thursday. I wouldn't keep publishing it, you know, nonstop, or Twitter, you can do things a whole bunch of times. But you know, there's nothing wrong with repeating your publishing so that you can guarantee that people will see it. There are tools out there to help you publish to make this easier for you. My favorite tool is Hootsuite, which is spelled Hootsuite. Hootsuite. And what this tool lets you do is, let's say it's a Sunday night and you have a bunch of stuff you're going to want to publish during the week. You know, rather than having to go on Tuesday morning and doing your posts, Thursday morning doing your posts, Wednesday afternoon doing your posts, so you got to take yourself out of your work life in order to do them. Sit down on a Sunday evening, go to Hootsuite, compose your post for that week. Say, I want this one to go out on Tuesday morning. I want this one to go out Wednesday afternoon. Have them go to multiple places. You can say, I want this one to go to Twitter and LinkedIn on Tuesday morning. I want this one to go to Instagram and Facebook on Thursday. So Hootsuite will control that publishing schedule, and it will control where these things are published. Hootsuite is free up to a certain point. Buffer and Sprout Social are a couple other options that are out there. I believe those cost money to use. They may have a free price point right now, but I'm not sure. But all of these do something similar, which is kind of control of their publishing platforms. And then Hootsuite is free up to a certain number of posts that are scheduled and a certain number of social networks that you can schedule to. Images and videos are going to make your content rise above. People want to see images. Videos are huge. If you could throw in a little 10-second or 30-second video, Instagram, Facebook, all the social networks know that these are what people want to see. So they weight them as far as the algorithm goes, and they'll tend to feed up these images and videos more than just plain text. So it's kind of videos at the top, images below that. Even live videos. You can do live videos on Facebook. There's a place in Brookfield. It's a video arcade. If you grew up with stand-up video games and arcades, like me, then you will find that this arcade, which is 20 or 30 bucks to enter, and then all the games are free for the day, has just about any game you can imagine. And I'm not just telling you that to advertise. Every Monday, they do a reveal where they bring out a new game, and it's covered in a tarp. And the guy who owns the place comes out and talks for 10 minutes about this news, that news, and then they do a big unveiling, and they play the game, and everyone can see it, and people can comment online, and that video is recorded for later. And it's almost like a regular show that they do. And they constantly do other little videos as well. They're live videos. And these things always feed up to the top because people know that's what they want to see. So certainly, and once again, here's your camera taken from your phone if you want it. Stories, I already went on this a lot earlier. Stories do take some work. You have to be a little bit more, you have to be a little bit creative, and you have to be willing to do these, put stuff to stories more often, but they're getting easier to do, and they're fun if you are a creative type of person, where you'll just take a picture and put a little caption, fun caption on it, put a little sticker on it, things like that, and put it out there. And once again, using the Instagram platform, you can have your stories go to both Instagram and Facebook, which is nice, but these are just very popular right now and worth playing with if you get to that point with your social media where you're willing to give it a try. You do want to pay attention to stuff that people are posting, pay attention to stuff that other people are posting, whether they're, once again, your competition or organizations throughout the world. But you don't want to just not look at the stuff, because you're going to be missing out. It's good to, think about the internet. It's creating a whole bunch of people who are, well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it's creating a whole bunch of people. It takes advantage of people's willingness to do things that people ask of them. Meaning, if you ask people to share something that you're putting out on your social media, they'll share it. Say, please share this. They'll share this. You just have a new function. You have a new mayonnaise. Once again, I think back to them. We need help. I can't tell you how many people shared their little post about how they need help on my Facebook and my Twitter. It was all over the place. But you ask people to share this so that other people can see it. Incentivize, give them a reason to, if they take a photo at your workplace and they get a coupon or something like that, calls to action, please do this, please do that. People are willing to do the stuff that you ask them to do online. You do want to put all your handles, your nicknames for your social media on all of your printed content and your email. Try to use the same handles on everything that you use, the same nicknames on everything you use, if you can. I wasn't able to, but if you can use it on your Facebook account. Your Facebook account has its own unique address, or your Facebook business page has its own unique address. So, mine, I think, is facebook.com/VSP Chicago, something like that. And then publicize stuff and use influencers. And when we hear about the term influencers, these are people with a good amount of followers, and it doesn't have to be a Kardashian or a Jenner or whoever the influencers are. It doesn't have to be one of them. It can be a local influencer. It can be somebody local who's got a lot of followers, or it can be somebody in your business who's got a lot of followers, or somebody who you think might be interested in something that you do. And you can say, hey, I think you'd be interested in this. Can you send it out to your followers? Can you send it out to people that you think might be interested? Hashtags, I kind of covered this already when I was talking about Instagram, but you should not be shy with hashtags on Instagram. Some of them can be useful. So, there's if Skokie ever has their Backlot Bash again, I could, and I was working at the Backlot Bash, I could do hashtag Skokie Backlot Bash, which maybe is the term that Skokie has said, hey, use this hashtag on all of their official things. Hashtag Skokie Backlot Bash, hashtag Autumn Fun, hashtag, some of these can be fun hashtags that you make up. Some of them can be official things. Some of them can be related to your business, but there's no shortage of these things to they both are fun to look at, and they kind of make your post, kind of bring out the subtext between your post, but they're also potentially useful in people finding you for the kind of official, really standard useful hashtags. Oops. You've got a real chance to connect emotionally over a computer. This is everybody from the president to businesses, to celebrities. This is the ones who are successful are doing this. They're connecting in a certain way with the people who follow them, with the people who connect with them. And this is your chance to do it at a certain emotional level that hopefully is correct for whatever business you've got. And it's also a chance for you to be fun, to be authentic. People can see the real you. Don't be too fun and too authentic if it's going to mean losing clients. You do want to stay at a certain professional level, and it's sometimes hard to gauge what that is. And you can err on the side of not losing clients. But on the other hand, boy, you know, it's hard to know the call on some of these because now, especially with stuff like Black Lives Matter, you're seeing a lot of businesses step into that, and it's hard to know in the long run kind of the steps that they're taking, whether it'll hurt them or harm them. But it does give you a chance to be you and to give people a glimpse at you while still maintaining a professional facade. But be careful. And if you can, go viral, put out great stuff that people will then share with everybody. And all of a sudden you'll have more clients and you know what to deal with and you know what to do with. All of these social networks will give you statistics so you can see who's viewing your content, time of day they're viewing your content, how many interactions you had. Because the thing is, it's one thing for people to see your stuff. You may see that a whole bunch of people saw your stuff. If they're out there liking it and sharing it and commenting on it and all that, retweeting it, all that kind of stuff, that's where you're really shown success. Because those ones, you know, have gotten people interested because they've been willing to do something about it, to click on something or to type words, wow, on something in order to interact with it. So, you know, that's where you can really see where your content is doing well. There are options for paid advertising on all the social networks. Some of them are pretty, there's some pretty good reasons to do it. You can have, especially on Facebook, when you go in and do ads on Facebook, you kind of say what your goal is. And depending on your goal, and I'll go over some of these goals in a second, they're going to walk you through different types of ads. It is cheap to do, although when I say that it's cheap to do, really what that means is you say how much you're willing to pay and it stays at that price point. So if you want to try ads for $50 for 2 weeks of ads, you'd set it up for $50 and that's your budget. It won't go over that. You'll get more people if you do $100 for 2 weeks, but you know, you try it for 50, and if it succeeds, then great, you can do more. If it doesn't succeed, then oh well, you gave it a shot. It's fairly easy to do these. I should put an asterisk before or after easy because Facebook has made it easier. I think all of them are starting to make it easier to do. It can be a tricky at times, and on Facebook, it can be a little bit obtuse. But overall, they've made it easy, especially if you want to boost posts. I don't know if you've seen that on Facebook. It's fairly easy to do. You can target people really well, meaning if you're looking at, you know, people worry about Facebook having all this information on people. As somebody who's advertising on Facebook, it's great that Facebook has all this information on people because you want to target people who are above 50, who live in these 10 suburbs, who are interested in vacations, who are in this economic bracket. You can say, hey, these are the people I want. And those are the people who are going to get your stuff, get your advertising on Facebook. So it's great, super targeted. And you can A and B test, see which options work better than others. So you may want to put out an ad there that's just going to kind of show up on more people's feeds, just increase the general visibility of a particular product that you've got or your company in general. You can boost individual posts, meaning that you posted something, your business posted something, and you want people beyond your followers to see it. You just say, hey, I'm going to boost this post, and then it'll go out to other people as well. Maybe you are early and you just want to get a whole bunch of people of a certain demographic, certain area to like your page, so that later when you put up information on that page, you'll get what are called organic likes versus paid likes. So you put up stuff to your page and hopefully these people will like the stuff you put out. So, you know, you can get people to like your Twitter account, like your Facebook page by advertising out, by putting out an ad and getting people to click on like. Or maybe you want to put out an ad that will ultimately send people to your website. That's an option too. Or ads for your physical location. If people click on it, they'll get a map. So you own a Subway sub sandwich place, and you want people to get your ad. People on their phone people use these social networks mostly on their phone, and you want people who are driving through your neighborhood in a certain area within 5 miles of your neighborhood between 10 and 2 on weekdays to get an ad from your Subway shop. You can do that. You can say, hey, I only want this ad to appear between these times. Or you could say only the people who live in these towns are going to get the ad for my Subway shop. You know, you've got these options to bring people into your physical location, offer them deals, coupons, things like that. If you use a MailChimp or there's another service that I'm blanking on, but you use a mailing list service, Constant Contact. If you use that, you can put out an ad that people fill in their email, and it goes on your mailing list. And then as you do a mailing list, then you've got these added people. Or if you're looking for business to business, go on LinkedIn, do ads to get stuff into their inboxes. I did that once with my catalog to get that into executives. Good way to, C-level executives. It's pretty good to get it into their mailbox there. It's really the only place that you can get to them besides just actually sending them physical mail. But yeah, I did that at senior centers or something like that to get my catalog there. As I said earlier, if you hate marketing, you hate all this kind of stuff, even if you like it, it's extra work. This is coming out of the time that you'd be spending on your advertising budget, on your marketing budget, on your networking. If you're the type of person who gets up at 7:30 to go to these networking events, then you may eat this stuff right up. But otherwise, this may be work for you. But hopefully there is some payoff. Just what you got to do. Here's some places you can look for more kind of tips on what's happening in social media and business. A few of these are sites that will send you basically daily emails. I get a ton of these emails, kind of blog sites that will send you information. Just Google them and sign up and you'll get emails all the time. Facebook has a Facebook for Business site that will give you a lot of tips on setting up your page for business. Okay, so that's what I've got for you. Pretty good, a little over an hour. What kind of questions do people have for me? And once again, I have my, this is recorded. The library should feel free to chime in if you want to say anything. I also have my email out here, mike@bspchicago.com. So you should feel free to email me for a copy of this.
Yep, we should have this up on our YouTube sometime next week. And yeah, we're open for any questions now.
Okay, well, it doesn't look like we're getting any. So I do appreciate you coming by, and I hope you got some useful stuff out of this. And I look forward to virtually seeing you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
In person seeing you. Stay safe.
Stay safe and have a good night. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.